Hey guys. All right. So in my last Ghost review, there was a comment, and Fam was asking about what about playing short side on the four in this particular rack. So I so he's talking about how it's difficult to get on the four, but coming across table or drawing straight back is also difficult. Any reason why I eliminated short side option on the four? He'd be shooting the three a bit under, a bit right of where the two is with low left. Okay, so good question. And this is what he's talking about. So we're going to zoom in on this. And so what he's saying is we're talking about this is the three, this is the four, this is the five. And the way I played it was I got here on the two, here on the three, and then I had to shoot, and I did make a good shot, but I had to shoot this draw shot to get on the four ball because I was very full, and I had to draw way back, and this is the shot. So yeah, I did it, but it's definitely a balance beam. That's definitely a balance beam. I don't think that's a tightrope. I think I'm better than 50-50, but I don't think I'm 95% there for sure. So the question is, why not? He was saying he would get, instead of getting straight, he would work his cue ball to leave himself an angle over here and then pull the cue ball with low left over this way for the four short side. So let's zoom in on this. In order to do that, there's a lot that has to happen, and it's a good question, but I just want to kind of compare it. So the first thing we have to do is figure out where the zones are on the four ball, and so boy, the I don't know if there even really is a sidewalk zone on the four ball because it was really tight on the rail. And so this is I zoomed in on it, and I mean it's like in the worst spot where it's like not frozen. It would be easier if it was frozen. It wasn't even frozen. It was that like millimeter off the rail where you could actually back cut it away from the rail, or you could chunk it and it can hit the tip of the side. So it when you zoom in on this ball, it was really unfriendly. And so I will talk about it in its unfriendly version first, where it was, and then we'll talk about if it was a little bit friendlier. Okay. But as it is, I mean, it's just such a hard shot that I feel like I almost consider all of this balance beam zone. Like almost you could give me ball in hand to shoot that ball up table, and I'm probably 75%. I don't think I'm 95% from anywhere. So I think it's all balance beam. And so then where would even the balance beam zone? And if I'm anything thinner than this, like if I'm out here, it just kind of turns into a tightrope. So I've got to be really good to even get this as a balance beam, which I would suppose if I'm close to it and really full on the ball, then I think I'm 75% to make that ball down the pocket. And maybe it's a good balance beam. Maybe I'm 85%. Maybe it's between a sidewalk and a balance beam. But it's like, it's a tester. And under pressure, when you have to shoot that shot, okay, tell you what. Sorry, guys. This is not edited. But let's just say that there's a sidewalk zone. And let's say that there is a spot where I'm 95%. And that sidewalk zone is there. Let's give that. And then let's assume that the balance beam zone looks like this. Maybe we go back a little bit further than that. And then anything outside of that is kind of like tightrope. I mean, really, when you look at it, like, you would not want to be shooting that shot from, anywhere in here. There's 50-50. And anything outside this, I mean, maybe back here you can even, I guess I can just say anything down here is tightrope. And if you're out in this zone, like, really, if you end up where the one is, like, you're probably almost better off playing safe. I mean, if you really, I'm trying to think of what Shaw would shoot at, call that the tightrope zone. I'm trying to be generous here. Okay. So those are small. Those are small zones just because of how close it is. And then we'll look at what happens when we move it off the rail. So that's the first problem, is that those zones are so small. And then you got to ask yourself, even if you had the perfect angle that you wanted, like here, realistically, how often are you going to be able to lay it right on the rail? Now, if you were able to start with ball in hand and put it here where you could use like a half ball hit with a roll, you're not following through the tangent line because you're thin, so you can roll it on over there. Even that, I don't think I could play short side. Okay, so short answer, this is why it doesn't work. The targets are just too small. The other thing about it is, remember, if you play the position to get on the four ball using draw, you're going to make the 3, and then if you miss position, you can always play safe on the 4. But so the hard part is the cue ball control for an easier shot. Whereas if you play for a harder shot and you mess up the shot, you sell out the game. So I'd rather mess up my cue ball and back into a safety than mess up my shot and hang the 4 and lose. Okay, all things being equal. But now let's just say it was a little friendlier. Let's just say it was like a ball off the rail. Okay, now I have some sidewalk zone. My sidewalk zone, I don't want to be frozen with an awkward bridge back cutting it, but I think sidewalk zone, if I can bridge comfortably, I'd say anywhere from here. Oh, it's turns into a balance beam still if I get much angle, but here, okay, I'd say that's sidewalk. I'm going to make that 95% of the time, and I feel like this line needs to, whatever. There's a little, okay, not perfect. Now the balance beam zone would be if I'm frozen on the rail, and if I'm a little bit longer, probably a little longer than that, I'm probably balance beam down to about here. And then what? Out to about here. When do I stop being a favorite and start being like, I don't know if I can make this ball? I still think I'm a favorite out to here. Okay, so this is probably balance beam zone. Anything outside of that, I kind of feel like it's tightrope. Anything back to here, anything thinner than this. I mean, all of this seems kind of like, put me where the 1 is. I feel like it's kind of 50-50 to make, I don't know, maybe I'm a slight favorite, but something like that. In a game under pressure, yeah, I mean, it's a good tightrope, but still, something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so now what does that mean? Where do I need to be to get there? So if I'm straight on the 3, I can't get there. So I need to be on the 3 ball somewhere where I can either back cut it and roll it, or I can stun it over, and I need an angle. Now, by the way, I didn't mention this, but you really have to be over a ways, because if you look at this, I kind of try to figure out, it looks like it's on a line from, I don't know, 0.5. So somewhere around here. So because of that, you really need to be over to get an angle. If you stop on the 2, you're dead straight. The other thing is you don't want to be over the 5 ball. And I can't reach this. Like, I'm a right-handed player, so this puts me like bridged over the 5 using an extension, trying to hit low ball. I mean, boy, that's kind of tough, right? So, I don't know. I'm just trying to like figure out where I could be. So I can't really be, and then I can't really be thicker. I mean, I don't even know if I could be there and force it over. I could with a firm stroke, but then my scatter's no good. And I can't be longer than about this because I'd have to use the bridge. Even that, I'd probably. So this is kind of like what my zone looks like. And it's not as bad as it looks because the shot line on the 2 is here. So the tangent line leads here. So it's just a little bit of low ball. Like if you get an angle to pull it this way, it's not so bad. You could kind of pull it. You could kind of pull it this way, and it's quite likely that you can hit that target. But okay, so now to get there, that means we have to be on this side of the shot line of the 2 ball. So what's our target on the 2? We don't want to be thin. It's just too hard of a shot. Like, look at it on the table. This is a long way from the corner on a 9 foot. If I'm out here, like it turns into a balance beam shot really quickly. So I can't have that. I mean, anything thinner than this, it's a tough shot. But I can't be straight. So, I don't know, like, where am I going to be that I feel confident making the 2 ball where I can get on I need to be like right there, which is possible because I'm playing the line of position off the 1. So what we're trying to talk about now is what are the odds that I can shoot the 1, follow with high and a little left using move shot 2, crawling right down this line, and to be fair, there's a lot of area that's balance beam. Okay, there's a lot of area that's balance beam. So I feel like I can hit the balance beam zone of the 2. And I have a chance of getting reasonable. And then with a good shot where I'm shooting in the corner with a little bit of a stun draw and making a hard shot and pulling it back in the tangent line so I'm not tangling up with the 5, that there's a good chance I can then get here. Now, what percentage of the time am I going to be able to hit the sidewalk zone still? Or even the balance beam zone again? Like, now I'm kind of stretched out using an extension, trying to shoot a stun shot with left, depending on the part of the pocket I catch and how hard I hit the rail and how much the left spin grabs. I'm gonna bring it over this way and hope that I hit. So what I saw here was I saw, like, if I try to play it that way, my first thought was, it's hard to pick up that angle. And if I do, the two ball could really quickly, I mean, it really could quickly turn into a balance beam 75% shot. And then I'm not always going to be able to get there. Sometimes I'm going to be stretched with a bad angle where it's just hard to reach and hard to control. And so I think that it's going to be another balance beam to get into this target. And if I don't hit the sidewalk zone here, so I basically have to go balance beam shot on the two, and then balance beam maneuver from the three to the four. And then I've got a chance at hitting the sidewalk zone, but my scatter on this shot, realistically, I could still end up on the balance beam. I could end up on the sidewalk. I'm sorry, I could end up on the sidewalk. I could end up on the balance beam, and I could even end up on a tightrope. But let's just say I think on average, call it a split between some of the time I'll get sidewalk, some of the time I'll get balance beam. But I feel that the added difficulty that we're adding to the two ball, I'm going to miss the two a bit doing it this way. Working my ball over once in a while, I'm going to be stretched out. I think on average, on average, I'll probably end up with a balance beam on the four anyway. So it's like, and again, I'm going to have a tough two ball that I might miss, and then a tough positional maneuver that I still think is a tough one. And then, and then if I don't hit it perfect, I'm going to end up with just as hard of a shot on the four. So I've got two missable shots. The way I played it, for people that haven't seen it from the beginning, was I played the one and I went all out to get as good on the two as I could, just to make sure I could make the two. And then I just got down and made sure I could make the two, because I just felt that that was so far from the pocket it could really become a nightmare very quickly. And then did this, of course. And then I got on the four where I could make it. So, how many balance beams the way I played it? I mean, I made a sidewalk one ball, sidewalk two ball, balance beam transition to a sidewalk four ball from this side of the table. I think that's a sidewalk. So everything was sidewalk except for the draw shot, which was one balance beam, and the balance beam was on the position, not on the shot. So if I failed, of course, in the ghost, it still cost you the game. But if I failed in a game, I would go that way, because if I fail, I still have control of the table. So one balance beam and not risking the table, just risking my position. Whereas this way, I feel like I'm going to have a balance beam on the shot, and I could easily miss the two. Even if I don't, I'm going to be hard stretched to really improve my position much on the four. And if I don't hit it perfect, I've got another balance beam here. And of course, this one is also on the shot, where if I miss, it costs me the rack instead of just costing me the offense. Finally, that's all true even if the ball's off the rail. Now you put the ball here, and it just becomes a nightmare, and it's not even play. So I thought it was an interesting situation, and I wanted to kind of talk about, like, it's a good idea. And one of the things that made this so tough is that if you really look at that three, where that three was, and how far over to the right I'd have to be. So had this three ball been maybe this, now I think it's much more reasonable. Had I been able to get full on the two and stop, okay, or wiggle over a little bit, and had I been able to play like a rolling ball with left spin and use a rolling ball with left spin to here, and had the four been off the rail. So had I been able to cinch the two, get an angle to use a rolling outside, and have the four off the rail where it's a little bit easier of a shot, then I would probably go this way. But if I have to make the two more difficult, if I have to use low ball to force it over with a worse gun, or if the four is near the rail, like, all of those things kind of make that a non-starter for me. So I thought it was interesting. I wanted to share the thought process, because when possible, I like to use angles to move. And those are the reasons I didn't feel it was practical in this situation. So hope somebody took something out of that. Thanks so much, fam.